Famous people who passed away in 1766. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Samuel Finley. He was born in July 1715 and he died in July 1766. His age was 51 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Irish-born Presbyterian minister and academic. He founded the West Nottingham Academy and was the fifth president and original trustee of the College of New Jersey from 1761 until 1766. It is thought that the so-called Stamp Act trees planted in front of the then president's home at Princeton were planted by Finley. Isaac Norris. He was born in October 1701 and he died in June 1766. His age was 64 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a merchant and statesman in the colonial era, province of Pennsylvania in British America. In 1757, Norris was appointed with Benjamin Franklin as a commissioner to England to work for the removal of grievances related to the proprietary instructions, but declined on account of failing health. Although he opposed the encroachments of the Penns, he would not support the proposition to convert Pennsylvania into a royal province. He resigned his speakership when, in 1764, a petition to that effect passed the Assembly. Jonathan Mayhew. He was born in October 1720 and he died in July 1766. His age was 45 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a noted American Congregational minister at Old West Church, Boston, Massachusetts, known for his early arguments for American independence. So liberal were his theological views that when he was to be ordained minister of the West Church in Boston in 1747, only 2 ministers attended his first council, called for the ordination, and it was necessary to summon a second council. Jane Colden. She was born in March 1724 and she died in March 1766. Her age was 41 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was an American botanist, described as the first botanist of her sex in the country by Asa Gray in 1843. Although not acknowledged in contemporary botanical publications, she wrote a number of letters, resulting in botanist John Ellis writing to Carl Linnaeus for her work applying in Linnaean system of plant identification to American flora, for which botanist Peter Collinson stated she deserves to be celebrated. James Francis Edward Stuart. He was born in June 1688 and he died in January 1766. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was the house of Stuart claimant to the thrones of England, Ireland, and Scotland from 1701 until his death in 1766, the only son of James II of England and his second wife, Mary of Modena. He was a Prince of Wales and heir until his Catholic father was deposed and exiled in the Glorious Revolution of 1688. His Protestant half-sister Mary II and her husband William III became co-monarchs. As a Catholic, Thomas Birch. He was born in November 1705 and he died in January 1766. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was an accident of falling from his horse. He was an English historian renowned for his historical compilations. In 1735, he became a member of the Society of Antiquaries and was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society, of which he was secretary from 1752 to 1765. King Frederick V of Denmark. He was born in March 1723 and he died in January 1766. His age was 42 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was edema. He was the king of Denmark and Norway and Duke of Schleswig-Holstein from August 1746 until his death in 1766. A member of the House of Oldenburg, he was the son of Christian VI of Denmark and Sophie Magdalene of Brandenburg-Kulmbach. Although the personal influence of Frederick was limited, his reign was marked by the progress of commerce and trade, and art and science prospered under his reign. Archibald Bauer. He was born in January 1686 and he died in September 1766. His age was 80 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Scottish historian, now noted for his complicated and varying religious faith, and the accounts he gave of it, now considered by scholars to lack credibility. Bauer became a Jesuit in Rome. He joined the Church of England a while after returning to London in 1726. He wrote a history of popes. This work was drawn into a damaging controversy concerning his apparent return to Jesuit or Catholic fold. By the end of his life, it appeared that he had changed religion 3 times. Giovanni Niccolò Servandoni. He was born in May 1695 and he died in January 1766. His age was 70 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Italian decorator, architect, scene painter, firework designer, and trompe l'oeil specialist. During the years, he produced a series of successful theatrical productions, much in the style of 17th century machine plays, with an emphasis on elaborate changes in decor and special effects, often set to music. Unlike the machine plays of the 17th century, his productions used pantomime rather than dialogue, with a description of the story provided in the program. Elizabeth Farnese. She was born in October 1692 and she died in July 1766. Her age was 73 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a queen of Spain by marriage to King Philip V. She was the de facto ruler of Spain from 1714 until 1746, since she managed the affairs of state with approval of her spouse, and is particularly known for her great influence over Spain's foreign policy. From 1759 until 1760, she governed as regent. She dominated Spanish politics. During her time as queen, she survived a virulent attack of smallpox. Benjamin Heath. He was born in April 1704 and he died in September 1766. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English classical scholar and bibliophile, renowned for his literary pursuits and collections. He developed himself mainly to travel and book collection. As a classical scholar, he made his reputation by his critical and metrical notes on the Greek tragedians, which procured him an honorary D.C.L. from Oxford in 1752. He also left manuscript notes on Berman's and Martin's edition of Virgil, on Euripides, Catullus, Tibullus, and the greater part of Hesiod. James Quinn. He was born in February 1693 and he died in January 1766. His age was 72 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English actor of Irish descent, known for his strong stage presence and rivalry with David Garrick. On 10th July 1718, he was convicted for manslaughter for having killed William Bowen. another actor, in a duel which the victim had himself provoked. Quinn was not severely punished, the affair being regarded as more of an accident than a crime. Count Leopold Joseph von Dohn. He was born in September 1705 and he died in February 1766. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Austrian field marshal of the Imperial Army in the War of the Austrian Succession and 7 Years' War. He is considered one of the outstanding military leaders from his time, a key figure in 18th century Austrian military history. He was intended for the church, but his natural inclination for the army, in which his father and grandfather had been distinguished generals, proved irresistible. Stanislaw Leszczynski. He was born in October 1677 and he died in February 1766. His age was 88 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was a burning accident. He was twice the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania, and at various times Prince of Dauphin, Duke of Bar, and Duke of Lorraine. He was selected by Charles XII of Sweden after a successful Swedish invasion of Poland to supersede Augustus II, who was hostile towards the Swedes. He was a young man of blameless antecedents, respectable talents, and came from an ancient family. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.